Hi, beautiful souls. It's Tan back here again today with you on this astrology, human design, and Gene Keys channel. And I'm here today with Cindy, who is an astrologer and a human design guide on the Tan astrology team. And Cindy's going to be introducing us today to quantum human design and the way that language can create our reality. So, quantum human design is something very new to the channel, I think, but it's a super powerful tool into how you can use your human design in a, I would say, productive and magical way to create the reality that you desire. So, we will be making some videos to follow up with this one, but this is just an introduction to quantum human design. So, you guys can kind of get a taste of what it's all about. So, Cindy, would you like to introduce yourself a little bit to the audience in terms of your big three in astrology and your human design type and profile?
Yeah, of course. So, hi everyone. I'm Cindy, as Tan already mentioned, and I am a Gemini, Sun, and Rising, Moon Capricorn. And in human design, I am a 6-2 emotional manifesting generator. Yeah, I think that's basically it.
Thank you, Cindy. Okay, so I'm just going to put up the slides and then we can get started looking into quantum human design.
Okay, so I thought that maybe first we could talk about our background with human design, or in general, like how did we come to astrology and human design? Um, so for me, that was basically in the time when I started studying psychology, and I was super like into epigenetics and how all of this is functioning. So my interest grew more and more, and then I was asking myself, or I was reading a lot of studies about epigenetics, and epigenetics always show that we can actually change our DNA, and this is what caught my eye. And
Wow.
so I was wondering, like, how can we do that? What is going
Mhm.
on? Um, so the answers that I got were actually that we can change our DNA through nurturing, through the way how we actually show up emotionally and energetically in the world. And scientists have, like, you always find these discussions, or that they are arguing over these two sides, over nature, and on the other side over nurture.
Mm.
And psychology knows today that both nature and nurture are the two things that are actually creating who we are. So, and in terms of our ancestors, if we look back to the ancestry, um, we're not only physically connected to our ancestors, but also like intimately, I would say. So through all the emotions and energetics that are going on in the relationship with ourselves, with our ancestors, and our families.
Mm.
Um, so then we know that ancestors created our nature. So everything that is related to our physical body, to our diet. And
Mm.
on the other side, um, we have the nurturing aspect and everything that that is woven around nurturing. So the way how we have been raised, for
Mm.
example, or the type of programming and conditioning, if we come to human design now back, that was passed down onto us through our ancestors, through um, our parents, for example, or through school, friends, society, everything that is kind of conditioning and programming us, maybe on a subconscious level.
Wow. That's really
And
interesting. I had no idea that there were these various factors that are influencing our DNA. I thought it was just um, something that we just were born with, we just inherited.
yes, and that's, I think that's the thing, that if we look deeper than just the physical, if we like really want to understand, um, or look, let's say, into our past and how we were spoken to, or the way we were treated, and then try to reflect on ourselves and actually see, um, like, how are we treating now other people?
Mhm.
um, then we can ask ourselves, like, what part of all, like, of this whole story that I'm telling about myself is actually mine, and what did I just inherit or take on?
Yeah, for sure. And how long ago was it that you were exposed to human design?
um, that was like 2017, 2018 when I found human design.
Mm. And did you find, well, maybe we'll talk about this a little bit later on, but I guess that through looking and being exposed to human design, studying more about human design, you found some of the answers that you were looking for, I guess.
Yes, exactly. And
Nice.
and then we will see, I would say, the whole picture, um, if we also go deeper into the differences between human design and quantum human design, and how this can actually help us to figure out who we are, let's say.
Mm, right.
Mhm.
I first knew about human design in 2018 because one of my colleagues at that time, so at that time I was an English teacher, and just a colleague, just a really random colleague, was just like, because I was telling her that I was into astrology and I like to do astrology, but I wasn't an astrologer at that point. And she was like, "Oh, you're into astrology. Do you know human design?" And I was like, "No, I don't know human design." So then she was like, "Oh, you have to know it. It's so amazing." She was like that. And then she just, showed me the program and things. And then I kind of checked out my body graph and things like that. But I don't think I was too fond of it at the beginning. But then somehow I came back to it over the next few months, in 2018. And I think I really found human design to be useful after finding out what a projector was and that I was a projector. And I think maybe that's what a lot of people are drawn to human design as well when they just really get into their type. All the things that was said about projector and how we don't have a defined sacral, that kind of explained a lot of things in my life, like why I'm very sleepy in my
Mm.
work and why I just get very frustrated with, working for long hours in a day. So and at that point, my English teaching contract was coming to an end. So I thought to myself, since my contract is coming to an end, I don't think I'm going to continue the contract. Maybe like subconsciously, maybe I would just put human design to an experiment and see what I would feel like when I don't have to do this kind of work where I have to work like 6 or 7 or 8 hours a day nonstop, and maybe take a break from that and then do something on my own and at the same time experiment with my human design and see how that plays out. So that was my exposure to human design.
Interesting. I think that this is probably resonating with a lot of people once you are reading into your type and you think, like, wow, that's crazy. Like,
Yeah,
what have I
yeah.
done wrong all these
Yeah,
days?
like all the
Like,
confusion that I've had in my life about certain things, it just kind of clears up.
yeah.
So now you're going to talk about what exactly is quantum human design.
Yeah. Um, so if we go back to the traditional human design, then this, like, the founder was Ra-Uru, who probably most of the people know. And he was at that time actually speaking to what they call the not self. So that's basically, he like channeled this human design in a time where people were still like quite unconscious, let's say. And so that's also the terms he used in order to kind of shock them into
Mm.
awareness, because he was kind of talking to the person within them that they didn't know yet. So they didn't know that this part of them is existing. And then if it comes to the quantum human design, the founder of it is Karen Curry Parker. And she actually, what I found quite interesting is she explained that Ra Uru Hu's original plan was actually, before he died, to take the traditional human design further to the conscious, or to the rising consciousness of the people of this new century. But he couldn't finish or even start this actually before he died. So, and that's how like she came to the quantum human design, because she used then like different terms and just in a more empowering language, because she saw that all her clients, they somehow changed, and like compared to the clients she had before, where they didn't decondition yet. And now suddenly, like I think it was around 2010 or something, when she came up with this new language, or at least when she saw that like the clients are changing, they have already worked a lot on themselves, and then just the old language didn't speak to them anymore.
Mm. Oh, I had no idea that this is what Ra had planned. I just thought that, um, Ra was a manifester. So I thought that he created something, he began something which he didn't quite finish. So then people had to, for themselves, kind of continue his work in the way that they felt was suitable for the times and the era. But now that you said it like this, I'm seeing it from a different perspective. That maybe this is quantum human design is maybe the development of what had begun and what it could become.
Yes, I think it's
Nice.
more talking in the way, or to the people in a way, um, that it's talking to the person they are here to become, or to the potential that is within them, that they have to fulfill, and not to this part anymore that they didn't accept yet, or that they actually didn't know yet that it is existing.
Yeah. And I would say as well here that the original human design is language is also important, I feel, in terms of the awakening, like you said, the shock and the awakening, because that's like part of the spiritual growth or spiritual awakening process. First, you have to wake up, and Ra does that for us. He wakes us up, and then what do we do from there? And then Carrie Parker comes in, and then quantum human design can kind of come in and help us to continue on that spiritual path growth journey.
Yes, exactly. So I think the main thing is the language that is being used here. Um, that's the main difference between
Yeah.
human design, the traditional one, and the quantum human design.
Okay.
Yes. And then we come to the next point. Why is language so important? And here I actually just chose this phrase abracadabra, which means, translated, I create as I speak. Sorry, there is a mistake. But
Oh,
yeah,
that's
I
okay.
create as I speak. So that is actually already explaining a lot of things, or where we are now heading. I have a really nice quote on the next slide
Okay.
from Karen Curry Parker. It says, our words create, they endure, they allow for unity, they transmit, they are the interface between the divine and the human. They are power, they translate the infinite to the finite. Words are the code for a story. Words carry frequencies of energy, which I found like really fitting here to explain why like the language that we are using is so important. And if we now go a little bit further, and on the next slide, we can see that the main message of quantum human design is basically that in order to create our reality, like the reality we really want to experience, to see, we first have to start telling the story that is matching our desire, is matching that what we actually really want.
Mm. The idea here is actually also very similar to Richard Rudd, who is the creator of the Gene Keys, and why he's developed those kind of words for each of the gene keys frequency, and how he encourages us to say those words out loud, especially the gift and the city words of each gene key, so we can actually start bringing that into our reality as well.
Yeah, that's so true.
Mm.
And another really important point is if we go a little bit back into the more, let's say, mystical teachings of human design, with what maybe many people don't really know about human design or also the quantum human design, is a lot about the teachings around the magnetic resonance field of the heart. And so we can basically start with that our energetic conception, as I wrote it here, happens 8 hours prior to our parents actually getting physically together. So then the energy of the father triggers the conception by calling forth, like they called it a design crystal. So if you see then the body graph of the human design, you know that on the left side, there are like all these red planets and red numbers. So this is the design, already design crystal sits, let's say. This design crystal is not, of course, like a physical crystal or something. It's more like an energetic crystal, or like, how can I call it? Like energy template, I would say, that is kind of holding the story or our story. Like the teachings of human design say that it is a kind of an energetic bundle that is residing in the earth. Let's have it like this.
Yeah.
Yes. And then this design crystal is bundled together with a magnetic monopole. In 2015, scientists actually discovered that a magnetic monopole is existing. Because we know like a magnet has actually always like two magnetic poles, but now they prove that there's also just like a magnetic monopole existing.
Mm.
And this is a magnet, or yeah, a magnet that only attracts, which is really interesting, like also referring to the law of attraction, actually, what
Yeah.
probably most of the people have already heard of. So that's why I thought we should maybe take it in here and explain it a little bit more. What is, like, how is human design explaining this phenomenon? A magnetic monopole actually says that we pull into our lives things, of course, that match our frequency. So the higher we can like vibrate in a specific frequency, the more things from the outside we will actually pull into our physical reality. And the thing with a magnetic monopole, or yes, is that we are not only like looking on in terms of the destiny, like what is coming here or into our lives because of that, but how can we actually calibrate that magnetic monopole in order to pull specific things in that, yeah, that's going to be manifested in our physical reality.
So if you can maybe clarify a little bit why the ajna is here with the design crystal and the magnetic pole is here with the G center, because that looks like the human design body graph there.
Yes, exactly. So as we grow and mature, then basically the design crystal resides in our ajna, and the magnetic monopole resides in our heart center. So the heart center consists of the G center and the will center.
Mm.
And the that's why I put this picture here as well, because this is like work really this Taurus energy, or this magnetic field around our heart that also exists around the earth. Actually, it's like a self-sustainable loop of energy, I would say. This attracting field is not only defining what we feel and what we see, it's also defining how we experience all of these things, actually, like, because it is like really the higher we vibrate. And I think we all have experienced this in our life. If we are in a state of fear or anger, then we are basically in a very low vibration. But if we do joyful things, if we um like throw ourselves into things that really light us up, that really brings joy, then we're also vibrating in a higher state of frequency.
Mm. So this diagram that you have here is basically like this field that draws things into us and into our lives that are a manifestation of what's going on inside of us.
Yes, so that's right. That's and you can stay with this light. That's basically
Mm.
the way how we are manifesting, that through our inspirations and thoughts um, that are being created in the head and ashna, um, we are kind of calibrating our mood and behavior, our emotions. So that's,
Mhm.
if we look into biochemistry, this has to do with specific neurotransmitters. That's also
Mhm.
what they're explaining in human design,
Mm.
that these are kind of like mood and behavior generators. And with our thoughts and inspirations, we can determine how we can influence our emotional state. And then from like calibrating our emotional state, we kind of influence what we attract. So that's like this whole loop within ourselves. That's kind of a summary, that with our inspirations, we calibrate our emotions, like our emotions in like human design, for example, in the emotional solar plexus. And then we calibrate our heart center, the G
Mm.
center, and the will center. And out
Mhm.
of this, we define what we attract from our outside reality into our physical reality.
Yeah, that's super interesting with regards to how the body graph was created and was made with this theory that you said, and how the solar plexus, calibrates back into the heart and the G center, and then that loop there is just super interesting.
Yes. And then we can also, like, coming back to quantum human design,
Mhm.
then we also see why actually using an empowering language in our voice in our life
Mhm.
um, is so
Mm.
important, because we have to lift ourselves up, especially I would say in like difficult times that
Mm.
we are living in right now. Then if
Mhm.
we have all the time like this negative self-talk as well, that is actually rather like keeping us small or pulling us
Mm.
down,
Mm.
then why not use empowering language for ourselves, and then also in order to lift others up?
So would you say that the language that we talk about here is something that is coming from our throat center? Would you say the throat center has plays a role in this, because it is connected to like so many different centers there?
Yes, and in quantum human design, we even say that the throat center is the center of manifestation,
Mm-hmm.
which I also find really interesting, because that really shows how through language, or how like through talking things through, we can manifest things into our reality. And that it doesn't matter if, like, that's also what many people sometimes, they are always like saying like, okay, I have this thing defined, I have this in my chart, and I don't have this. No, no, no. Like, we have everything in this whole body graph. Actually, it's just different how we can access all these different archetypes and energies within ourselves. So in the end, it doesn't really matter if you have an undefined throat or a defined throat. Like, the manifestation can work anyway. You just have to know how to work properly with the energies that you have constant
Yeah.
access.
Yeah, I think it's super important that you mentioned that as well for some people who may be questioning, their undefined throat. And we have all of these things, and that's super important to understand. I'm glad that you mentioned that. Um,
Yeah.
and just another question that I have here as well, when we talk about the words or the language that we use, sometimes I feel maybe it's also just the frequency of it, like coming from the heart and the solar plexus is more important than just the words themselves, because you can be saying words that have positive meaning, but you say it in a way that has a lower frequency in the way that you say it. Like, you're saying something when you're angry, but you could be saying something positive. Like, I think it's important to take note here as well that it's the frequency is more important than, the word themselves.
Yes, that's really, really true. And I mean, that's like, I think there is one scale that you can also find everywhere online, where basically the frequencies of specific words, like, even
Oh.
if we choose, or even like if we go to um like love, or the difference between the word love and the word hate.
Mm-hmm.
Or if we now take I think there was a study, like, when they were putting like specific words into the water, like they were charting the water with different words, and then they were checking the
Really?
crystals.
What?
Yes.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
And if you were charging your water with like a word like love or friendship, or like really like a word that is coming out of like integrity and love,
Mm-hmm.
then um it was like, under the microscope, there was they could really see like a beautiful crystal, like a snowflake, for example. And if they
Wow.
were charging the water with a word like full of hate, for example, or
Mm-hmm.
anger, sadness, then there was
Mm-hmm.
just like some messed up shape of this
Mm-hmm.
watery cell
Is
there
that like
in
a written word or is it like verbal?
both. Both, if
Mm-hmm.
you're like kind of talking to the water, or
Mm-hmm.
if you just write it on a paper and then like kind of stick it on the water, or on the water jar. Yeah, so that was like mind blowing, actually, when I
Yeah.
read
Yeah, I think
about
there's
it.
something similar to, I think, this experiment they did with plants as well. Yeah. The
Yes,
things that you say to the plants and how you say it influences how the plant is able to grow. And when you're saying, I love you, you're so beautiful, and the plant actually blooms better. And as opposed to when you're saying like nasty things to the plant.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, I love that we've established today quite deeply as well, and scientifically, but also spiritually. I like that you merged the two of them together to establish how important words and language can be to creating our reality.
Yes.
Yeah, and then we're going to be following up in the next few videos with some new language that quantum human design has brought to traditional human design. So that's going to be very interesting to discuss as well.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you for today, Cindy.
Thank you too.
So if you guys like this video, and give it a thumbs up, and if you have anything you'd like to share, just leave any of your thoughts, feelings, opinions in the comment section below. We love reading your comments. And if you guys are interested in getting a reading from anyone on the Tan Astrology team or even Cindy herself, you can check out my website, tanastrology.com, where we have a variety of different kinds of readings available there. And we love being your guides on your self-discovery journey. So looking forward to that. All right. So goodbye, beautiful souls, and have a lovely day. Bye.
Bye.